Well, the question on everybody's mind seems to be whether Stephan Sterns had a flat tire on Hickory Tree Road where Madeline Soto's body was recovered, or on Old Hickory Tree Road. And I don't think it matters. Well, hey everybody, welcome to Profiling Evil and this quick edition on an appearance I made on Court TV to talk about that flat tire and the importance of it. It's absolutely important that there was a flat tire reported because that led law enforcement to recovering Madeline Soto's body. Well, I hope you'll take a moment, hit that like and subscribe button so that you're getting our notifications on all of our videos as we release them. And by the way, folks, if you're thinking about going to CrimeCon, make sure you check out my special offer down below where I get you a discount for coming. We're going to try to get all the Profiling Evil family together in Nashville this year to do something special. So please sign up and make sure you use the code below. Now listen, here's the big deal that seems to be troubling everybody about the Stephan Sterns case and whether this guy had a flat tire. I don't think it matters as much that he had a flat tire as it does the fact that they recovered Madeline Soto's body. And the way they recovered it is a combination of things. Number one, that individual who called into the Crime Stoppers line and told them that they saw someone and a vehicle who looked like this guy is absolutely important, and they need to be given their kudos for finding that thing. But number two, and more important in my opinion, is that law enforcement was able to take his mobile phone data and track every place that he went. When I first looked at this, I was really nervous thinking about how flat Florida is. I've been through that area, how remote it is there. And when I looked at the cell tower data, it looked pretty darn tough to be able to get a good cellular signal. In fact, as we're looking at this map, you can see that the cell towers are really quite a long ways away from the location where Madeline Soto's body was recovered. But when I dug a little bit deeper and I pulled up the microwave towers that are in the area, those are the small cells that are set up by the cellular companies to try to boost the coverage. All of a sudden, it changed the entire picture. And you can see here how many there were, which I think equates to a better location off of this guy's phone. Stern's phone, whether he had that horrible accident of wiping it clean or not, had data pushed back to the provider, whether it was AT&T or Verizon or T-Mobile, doesn't matter. Those location pieces of information were collected and stored with the account. So it's not just about the flat tire, but it's about the fact that the flat tire, along with other pieces of evidence, are bringing together this case. Number one, it brought them to a location where they could recover Madeline Soto's body. It may be information that they used to impeach Stern, as he said, I wasn't in the area. And we'll wait and see what happened there. I've yet to hear law enforcement come out and say that they found a flat tire in that vehicle. But there's got to be a reason why he put that clunky little spare tire on the car. Now, personally, I'm starting to theorize that if in fact that gate was open where her body was recovered, this guy could have pulled in and back behind the trees, making it a little easier to stay concealed and remove her body from the vehicle and put her behind those trees. If in fact that happened, as he pulled out and discovered that he had a flat tire, it would then make it necessary for him to change the tire where the witness saw him. Now, it could be that it happened up on Old Hickory Tree Road, but I think it's less likely that it did. That's quite a coincidence to have Old Hickory Road and then the disposal site being on Hickory Tree Road. So I'm really banking on the fact that most likely they're going to recover evidence in the car tires. They may even recover an object in the tire from that area where the body was recovered. It just makes sense. Put yourself in the mindset of a predator, even one who's disorganized and just trying to get rid of this child's body. Pulling off into an area where he could secrete himself behind the trees makes a whole lot more sense. It's easier to get out of the view of passing cars. even recognizing that fewer cars go by in that area or stretch of roadway. After getting that body out of the car and tucking it into the trees, as he was driving out, he may have discovered that he ran over something. That might be some of those blessings from on high that cause these predators to become more disorganized. He then is forced to pull directly across the street where he changes the tire, and a witness observes him, photographs his car, and sends it to Crime Stoppers. Now, I don't know if Crime Stoppers blew it, but they certainly didn't get law enforcement there right away. This one is really troubling because we're going to see more information come out as time goes on. But let's take a moment and catch my comments on Court TV about that particular topic of how that vehicle may have ended up in that location.
Mike King, the search. This is almost the middle of nowhere, but they found her. It had to be a result of some witness information, don't you think?
I think that and the combination of cell phone data that they used to maybe put this thing together, Vinny, and I think that's what we've got to really take into account. At first, I was a little bit discouraged because I know how flat that area is and how difficult it is to get a decent cell signal. But when you start looking at not only the cell towers, but all the microwave towers that are along that road, I think that the cell reception was pretty good, and they probably had a pretty good marker of what roads he traveled down. And then they could start looking, taking advice of that witness, of the container, of the vehicle being off on a little pullout. But then we got to think about, how did that body get back behind the trees? And I think that can be pretty well explained by the fact that that gate was open. It's possible he drove the car back a ways and then carried the body, or knowing that it's a pretty remote area, he may have just gutted it out and headed across the road with that child.
Well, I really appreciate Vinnie Politan. And again, I feel like everybody's focusing on this flat tire, and we really don't even know that there was a flat tire. Now, all the evidence points to that it's true. There's no reason why he would pull out and change that tire. He might get out, look at the car, pop his hood up if he was just putting a guise on. But to put that smaller tire on the back of the car doesn't make sense unless he did, in fact, have a flat tire. So I suspect we're going to find that that's the case. And I suspect we're going to find what I'm starting to theorize, which is that he pulled off in a very remote area, even though it was only 40 minutes from the home in which they resided, and he may have disposed of the body behind the trees. Remarkably, the place in which that body was recovered, and remarkably, the place in which a witness saw someone matching his vehicle description and his physical description parked and doing something, perhaps changing a tire. Those are pretty heavy coincidences to get away from. Then, when he had that body safely tucked away in the bushes, he got in his vehicle and started to pull out and realized he had a flat tire. Can you imagine the stress that he was feeling at that particular moment? Not only disorganized from all of the crimes that would have happened leading up to this point. Remember, there's a crime scene where the murder actually happened, and now this disposal site. But now he's got the additional pressure of that tire going flat and continuing to be near the body where someone might come by and check on him. Let's catch the rest of my remarks on Court TV.
Mike King, let me ask you another question on this, though. I'm thinking about this flat tire. Is it really a flat tire, or is it a ruse?
Yeah.
Can you forensically, do you think forensically you could figure out how, if the tire that was taken off the back left is flat, do you think you could figure out what caused that flat tire? And if it's not flat, then this absolutely is a ruse.
Yeah, I think forensics are going to really play a big role here because, number one, if he picked something up going off-road into that area, it's probably going to be something they can determine and say this is where it happened. But those tires, if he did go off-road, are going to probably have residue and artifacts that suggest that he went off-road there. So I think that's going to help too. Could it be a ruse? Why not? I mean, what a great thing to say, I've got to have a reason to park my car on the side of the road while I wait for traffic to pass by and then hurry and secrete a body in the woods. So I think we got to keep all of them in our minds. We can't focus on any specific one until more information comes out. And frankly, I haven't heard a person say yet that they looked in the trunk and there was a flat tire in there.
Yeah.
So as you think of all of this information that's coming out, I have to ask myself, is it possible that this guy had a flat tire and that he was changing that tire just immediately after dumping that body or before dumping that body in the tree line? I think it makes perfect sense. The fact that that gate was open made that a perfect access point for him to get through the gate instead of having to lift that body, which is probably in a state of rigor mortis at that time, over the fence and then go over and carry it further into the woods. It just makes sense that with that gate open, he probably drove right into that area rather than risk running across the road with a body over his shoulder. So as you kind of sort out this case in your mind and you focus on this changing of the tire, I want you to think about a couple of things. Number one, is it possible that he had a flat tire in that location where her body is found? It's absolutely possible. In fact, in my opinion, it's more probable than possible. And I would suspect, looking at the evidence that we're starting to see now, the physical evidence, the eyewitness account, and the forensics that will come from the examination of that tire and the scene where that body was recovered, I think we're going to realize that Stephan Sterns pulled in through an open gate where that shipping container is and those white bundles of covered hay, and pulled behind the trees where he could easily remove Madeline Soto's body from his vehicle. Whether it was in the trunk or it was in a back seat or a front seat, I don't know that we know or it even matters at this point. And then, after secreting her there, where he could have some semblance of isolation, less vehicle traffic going by, wondering what's that guy I pulled off on the side of the road for, then he started to pull out and realized that he had a flat tire. And it would only make sense as he pulled out of that gate that he drove through that with a flat tire, he would drive directly across the street and into the next gated area, giving himself a little bit of distance from the dump site of this child's body to the location where he changed the tire, which was witnessed by an amazing individual who called Crime Stoppers and let them know. And then eventually it made its way to law enforcement, who checked the area and recovered this child's body. I'd like to know your thoughts on this theory, and I hope you'll put them down below, and I hope you'll talk with each other on this one as we work through this case. These are incredibly emotional cases, and I want to thank Court TV for allowing me to come in and weigh in on so many important matters. I hope that you're enjoying Profiling Evil. And again, I want to just say, if you're considering going to CrimeCon, please make sure you're taking advantage of the code, the discount code of Profiling Evil, so that you get a reduction in your rate, and we'll all have a chance to get together in Nashville. Make sure you're signing up for that. And don't forget to sign up for the Bolo. Our next issue of the Bolo is coming out in just a couple of weeks. And the only way you're going to get the digital Bolo, that's Be on the Lookout, our digital newsletter, is by signing up at profilingevil.com. I'll never share your information, which is only your email address, and I promise you can stop at any time. So thanks for your support of Profiling Evil. Please watch for us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And if you like podcasts, folks, go to Profiling Evil audio podcasts on your favorite podcast platform. We're now coming up on 200,000 downloads on Profiling Evil podcasts, and I want to thank each of you for helping us get to that point. Make sure you're checking out Choir Practice, and we'll see you soon at the next crime scene.